Good morning. I'd like to welcome to everyone to this year's first legislative breakfast. And as has been going on for many years, this breakfast is sponsored by the North Country Chamber of Commerce. And in behalf of the Chamber, I would like to welcome everyone this morning. Also extend my great appreciation to Dan Pellerin, who is the Vice President of the Vermont North Country Chamber of Commerce and who organizes these breakfasts. If there is anyone participating this morning who does not already receive email notification with reference to these breakfasts, please contact Dan and give him your email address, and your name will be added to the list. His email address is vice-president@vermontnorthcountry.org. I also appreciate the hospitality extended to us by NEK-TV for allowing us to use their facility as the host for our Zoom legislative breakfast. I especially want to extend my great appreciation to Todd Prano for allowing me to be present here this morning and for making sure that things are working. When it comes to technical stuff, I'm totally lost. I still want to be the last person standing in the Northeast Kingdom without a cell phone. That shows how ignorant I am as far as technology is concerned. This morning's breakfast is being held for the purpose of allowing our area legislators the opportunity to present to the citizens of Orleans County the issues with which each of them expects the legislature to be dealing this year. I'll call upon each legislator to speak for up to 5 minutes or so, highlighting the issues that each feels will be of most importance during the upcoming session. 5 minutes doesn't allow some people enough time to even introduce themselves. But again, we do need to keep things short so that we allow everyone the opportunity to speak and still allow some time for questions and comments from the citizens. Now, as indicated, I am very technologically challenged, and I know that this screen is showing some of the legislators who are appearing, but I am not positive that I will see everyone. So I'd like to start off with our most senior legislator, at least in terms of service. Now, see, Bobby, I didn't call you old, did I? But I'd like to call upon Senator Bobby Starr to tell us what he thinks is happening this year.
Well, thank you very much, Bill. We've spent over the years a lot of them together at these breakfasts. I bet 30 to 35 maybe. But I'd also like to thank the Chamber for hosting these meetings, and especially Dan and Todd for making sure that everything works well. The Senate, up until this past week, has been working off from Zoom. We hadn't been to the State House, and finally got back there this past week, and it really seemed strange to go in the building for the first time, basically in 2 years. We've been very busy, even on Zoom, big crowds at the meetings, from people from around our area, but from all over the state. And at this point, we passed the Budget Adjustment Act, and the governor signed it, I believe, last Thursday, possibly. And in that, there was a lot of good things in that budget adjustment to help communities. One thing, the federal government has sent every town in village, if it's an incorporated village, they've sent them these federal stimulus dollars, and we did appropriate a bunch of money to Northeast Development Association, as well as the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, to answer and help answer questions that towns may have, as well as helping them, to stay within the guardrails of where to spend that money. Also in that budget adjustment bill, there was extra money for town highways and bridges and a lot of things that mean quite a lot to our small towns. Money for broadband, and as which is really lacking up here in the Northeast Kingdom. And so hopefully some of the House members will have things to say on that. They put enough money in to finish the rail trail from over through from Swanton to St. Jay, which is a pretty big deal in the winter for snowmobilers as well as bikers in the summer. Another issue that we got into that, I also served, besides on the Propes, chair of the Ag Committee, and we put 2.6 million into the budget adjustment to cover the insurance premium that the federal government has, an insurance premium to help the difference between the cost of feed and the cost in the pay price of milk. Representative Marcotte and I spent a lot of time last summer working on a task force that recommended that. And so the Ag Committee put that forth and it was added to the budget adjustment bill. A couple of important things that that will affect and could affect our area that we're working on in appropriations right now are what we call the DAs, which are designated agencies, such as Northeast Kingdom Mental Health, NVDA, VNA, organizations like that that provide many services to our people. And I don't want to get anybody into trouble, including myself, but a lot of the state agencies got about a 10% increase recommended in the proposed budget. And there was only 3% for our DAs, and they provide a lot of services to our elderly people and even younger people that have some problems that are pretty serious. So we're trying to raise their allotment up to closer to the 10% or 8 or 9% at least, like the other state agencies. So I've probably taken up my 5 minutes, if not more. And so I want to thank everyone for listening and taking part this morning. And Bill, as I said earlier, I've got to jump off a little early here, so I'll stay on as long as I can. The other issue, maybe you'll get into it, is the reapportionment issue that's taking place right now. And Mark is on that committee on the House side. I'm on the committee on the Senate side, and it looks like it's shaping up halfway decent. So I'll leave that for Mark. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Senator Starr. And staying in the Senate, let's pass the microphone to Senator Russ Engels.
Well, thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. Good to see you again. I don't know how you do it, but you're looking better and better every time I see you. So keep up the good work. Going on back to what Senator Starr had kind of teed up a little bit. We've worked very, very hard on redistricting. I don't know how it's going on the House side. I'm sure that Mark will update us on that, but I know on the Senate side, we kind of went against the grain a little bit. We have such a vast territory that they, without a lot of population, that there was talk earlier on about making it a single member district. But between what Bobby and I have been able to push forward, we've got it. We've had to agree to take on some more towns to get our population up. But we've safely, I would say at this point in time, secured the 2-member district. It's just an awful animal to take care of with one person. And I think that we've got it safely where we're remained a 2-member district, which is very good. I serve on transportations. We have a lot of money coming in from the transportation bill that came from Washington, and still some lingering monies left over. I don't think there's going to be a road not paved in all of Vermont. And I might, that's probably a little bit of exaggeration, but not much. You're going to see a lot of projects going on. Unfortunately, with what's going on in Washington, we're seeing this thing called inflation. So we're hoping that through strong bid processes and everything that we can not just spend more money, but actually get more paving and bridge projects done. There's some extra monies out there that we've never seen before to help these bridges that aren't getting attention and maybe get to them before they need full replacement. And on it goes. I mean, it's just, there's going to be a lot of projects out there. We have this money, we have 8 years to spend it, and 5 years to earmark it for where it's going to go. And so there's just a lot of things that are going on. Cell towers, we're looking at $51 million to try to put up 100 cell towers throughout Vermont in the most underserved areas. You know, I know that there's a lot of people that would rather see a hardwired broadband, but you know, let's take what we can get. I mean, for the only opposition that I'm hearing from it is from people in areas that have more than one choice, multiple choices of communications, and we're looking hard of getting at least one choice into all areas of Vermont. And as you folks know, we probably are in the most need of that. As Bobby said, the Senate has been back in a hybrid session. I can tell you that as effective as we thought we were being on Zoom, there's nothing more effective than being there in person. It is the government is not meant to be done on Zoom. It's meant to be face to face, and to spend people's hard-earned tax dollars on Zoom. Well, it's a Band-Aid, but it's half tore off. It really is nice to be back there in person. I think that all of the legislators here are going to be talking about at some point in time about some of the attacks that we're facing. It just seems like there's a lot of bills that are coming into our state house that are really kind of attacking our ways of life, between hunting and fishing and trapping and gun rights and this qualified immunity. There's just a lot of things going on that really attack the core of who we are and what Vermont has been for a long time. So I think we're all got a unified front as far as to try to keep that stuff at bay and let us be the way we've been for a long, long time. But I'll leave it there. There's a lot more to be said, and if people haven't had a chance to say it yet, as we've heard one legislator say in the past. But I want to thank the chamber and Dan Pellerin and Todd Prano and Bill Davies and all my fellow legislators for being here, and also the folks that are joining in. And thank you. And we're down there fighting for the kingdom every day, and we appreciate all what you do.
Thank you, Senator Ingalls. And now we'll do the House side, and just so people can know when they're coming up. The order in which I am going to represent or to recognize the representatives is my understanding of seniority. And if people have equal seniority, then it's alphabetical. So you can let me know how I've done when we get done. First, I'd like to call upon Representative Mike Marcotte.
Good morning, Bill, and thank you once again for moderating this legislative breakfast, and also to the chamber and Dan Pellerin and to Todd Prano over at Northeast Kingdom TV and everyone that's joined us this morning. So I serve on the Committee of Commerce and Economic Development, and I chair that committee. This year, we're taking a very hard look at our workforce. We all know that we have a huge workforce issue, not just within Vermont, but around the United States. It was coming, and COVID just exacerbated that issue. One thing we did here early on, when we began our deliberations on H703 from the state economist, Tom Cavett, is that there's very little that state government can do to influence the workforce. But there are things that we can do, not a lot in the short term, but to make sure in the long term that we are setting ourselves up for better outcomes. So H703 was passed out of my committee at, I think it was 6 o'clock Friday night. We are still working on other pieces that will be added to it this week as it makes its way through appropriations and Ways and Means. But some of the main pieces of the bill, we really looked hard at the nursing issue and the medical workforce in the state. And we worked very closely with our healthcare committee to come up with some recommendations that we have in the bill. Some of those are increased stipends to the state colleges and to the independent colleges as well, and to UVM for nurse educators. So there's been an issue with the amount of pay that's been given to nurse educators in the college level. A lot lower pay than they can earn as a nurse working for a hospital. And so what's happened is we don't have enough, and we have a lot of students that want to become nurses, but we can't get them through the pipeline. So this is a way to try to relieve that and bring in more educators. Also, there's nurse preceptors. So those are nurses that work in the hospitals that also will work with student nurses as they come into the hospitals for their clinical part of their education. And that has been the same issue as well. So there's money in there to increase their pay by $5 an hour as they're working as a preceptor. So we're hoping that more and more hospitals will take that on, and more nurses would also want to become a preceptor. There's also scholarship dollars in there, forgivable loans for nurses, and with the caveat that they would have to work in the state every year for each year that they receive a scholarship or a loan forgiveness. I think probably one of the biggest parts of this bill for me is our work with our career centers, and trying to make sure that, as the governor said in his State of the State address, elevating career center education to the same level as what a college education is. And so a few things that we've done, we're proposing to use $15 million of the education property tax excess to create a fund that would be available to career centers that have a building trades component to it. And there, of the 17 tech centers around the state, 15 of them do have that component. So they could access this money through VHCB to purchase blighted properties within the community. Also to purchase property that could be redeveloped within the communities, and then bring the building trades students on and to start rehabbing those properties. And so this has been looked at by the Career Center directors as very positive. And we think that this could, in the long run, continue to bring more and more students into the building trades where we're sorely lacking. And also we are proposing to create a fund such as the dual enrollment program with students right now can get take two college courses for nothing. The state would pay for that. So we're basing this on the same premise that motivated students that want to take an adult CTE course, that's a career technical education course in the evenings, would be able to do so. That would be paid for by the state. Also, there would be wraparound services for those lower income students, such as transportation or the cost of books. So we've heard that this is sorely lacking. So we're creating a 3-year pilot project on this of $300,000 to try to see if we can get more of those students into the trades like an LNA or a CDLs, so that they can get a leg up on things when they graduate. So Bill, there's a lot more in that bill that I could talk about, but I know time is getting short. And so with that, I will thank you and thank everyone for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Representative Marcotte. Now I'd like to recognize Representative Mark Higley. Mark?
Thank you, Bill, and good morning, everyone. As Senator Ingalls said, there's certainly a whole lot going on down there. I always like to talk about a few positive things first because there's so much negative in my mind that's being proposed down there. As Bobby had said, I sit on GovOps. We did redistricting pretty much for the whole half of the year here. That bill came out and will be on the floor this next week for discussion on the floor and a vote. I believe all in all, the overall redistricting process went well. We had to hear from many boards of civil authorities on our proposed maps. As you can imagine, with the new census figures, a lot of areas like Chittenden County grew, and areas like Bennington, Rutland, and the Kingdom lost some folks. So all this has to be adjusted. Just quickly, currently, and I believe it's what will pass, and the New Orleans 1 district will be Derby alone. That'll be a 1-seat district. Newport City, that'll be a new district. That'll also be a 1-seat district. Orleans 3, which is Barton, Brownington, and Westmore, that'll be a 1-seat district. Orleans 4, Albany, Craftsbury, Glover, and Greensboro, again, a 1-seat district. Orleans Lamoille, which is currently my district, which included the towns of Lowell, Jay, Westfield, a portion of Troy, and Eden, now puts Troy back whole. And we added in Newport Town, Coventry, and Irisburg to create a 2-seat district. That way nobody had to be split. And it worked out well with deviations. We have to maintain certain deviations to make sure that we aren't taken to court and lose in regards to the number of folks each representative is supposed to represent. Another positive thing from my mind is there is a $90 million ed surplus. The governor's looking to have $45 million rebated back to the property taxpayers, another $45 million invested in career and technical education. I hope that works out. In GovOps, we recently just put out a bill. This past week was crazy with crossover date, but in regards to bringing teachers that want to come out of retirement for 1 year at a time, there had to be a lot of work around, the retirement pay currently, healthcare, that sort of stuff. But there's a real issue with losing teachers in our schools, and we're trying, hopefully on a short-term basis, to bring back some teachers to do that. So again, I'm just going to quickly go into the things that I find pretty concerning. A lot of that is in the Senate. as well, that qualified immunity, ending the qualified immunity for law enforcement, expanding the scope of the criminal threatening bill around public employees such as myself, having an enhanced penalty for that. I don't believe in that at all. The things like the reserve forest land, which is a new current use category. I think there's a big push in Vermont. As you may know, you've seen certain groups out there that want to tie up all federal and state land for no logging. I think this is just a part of that. I've talked to foresters that have a real concern. It sounds like there's not too many parcels that would be initially signed up for this, but again, it's a concern to me. As Representative Senator Ingalls had said, there's, you know, a bunch of hunting bills banning hunting coyotes with dogs. That looks like it's going to be maybe a permit to run them at this point. Banning trapping, leg hold traps. Now it looks like a report, maybe just go out. Make current Fish and Wildlife Board advisory. Looks like, again, just a letter to the commissioner working with what ideas are for wildlife in that regard. A lot of these things start out pretty bad, but I think their initial intent is one of ending a lot of our traditions here in Vermont. The other big thing that I'd like to thank the governor for was for a number of years now, I have, as a small contractor, fought the registration of contractors bill. It passed in the House, passed in the Senate. It's a provision where anyone who does work $3,500 or more would have to register. Now that $3,500 is materials and labor. And there would be the registration is a form of licensure. So you need to be current with all federal, state taxes, child support payments, you name it. There's a written contract provision in there. There's insurance provisions in there. And as the governor had said, especially with the money that's going out the door for weatherization projects and actually housing projects, we need contractors more than ever. And I think it's imperative upon the general public to make sure they know who they're dealing with, but to impose these sorts of regulations on the small contractor, to me, is just going to either create a black market or have a lot of people not want to step up. So again, that vote's coming up April 20th. There was a couple of times that it was looked at, but they didn't have enough votes in the House. It's very close, but I hope on April 20th we can sustain that veto. There's so many other things, again, that are concerning that are coming out of Burlington charters, Brattleboro charters. Brattleboro charter, 16 and 17-year-olds being allowed to vote and hold office. Burlington's charter, just cause evictions provisions, thermal efficiency program, which is going to have a carbon assessment fee on any new construction for commercial or residential, or rehab projects that install a fossil fuel burning heating system. Again, folks, to me, it's going to get even more costly to live here in the state of Vermont. And I understand, the provisions that we have to look at regarding our footprint on climate change, but with the price of gas and fuel the way it is now, some of this stuff has to be sidelined for now. I guess I'll leave it there. Again, a lot of concerning things coming down the pike, and I certainly appreciate expressing it to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Higley. Now, Representative Vicky Strong.
Thank you, Bill. I think you're getting this pretty good about seniority kind of a thing. So thank you. It's nice to be with you this morning. We've missed our opportunity as legislators to be more involved in the public, and slowly we're getting those steps done. And this is another one. So thank you for making this possible. So I'll start with, I think I'll start with the redistricting just briefly. Mark mentioned my district, just in case you didn't realize, I have been a 2-member district for, I'm not even sure how many years, but it's been a long time. And in some ways it does make sense to take the 7 towns I have been representing, Wheelock and Sheffield, to have them be associated with Lyndonville, excuse me, but now it would be the 4 towns of Albany, Craftsbury, Greensboro, and Glover as a single member district. And then Barton will be along, like Mark said, with Brownington and Westmore. So that will be an interesting election. And I'm not sure how it'll turn out, but we'll see. As always, change happens no matter what we do. So I'm also serving again on agriculture and forestry, and I feel very much a passionate love of this topic and this committee. And we've been working on several things that will affect us here in our area as we all look around and see in the Northeast Kingdom the beauty we're surrounded by. It's because of our forests and the agriculture that happens every day on all our farms. Sadly, we see a lot of dairy farms closing or struggling, which has been going on for years, as Senator Starr knows. And we keep touching on things that will help them. One thing that we're doing in the House side of ag is we passed just actually Friday, and this was just crossover week. There's a great description in the Vermont Business Magazine. It's an email that you can subscribe to, but a great explanation of crossover and what that means in the House and Senate. So we just finished the crossover week where these bills are coming out, will be debated next week. But the Ag Committee passed out 2 bills this past Friday. And one that does affect farming particularly is regulation of accessory on-farm businesses. And as we're seeing diversification happening on farms all over the state, they're taking on new aspects of business besides just shipping milk, which has been a tradition for generations. They're adding businesses on their farms, processing their own milk or selling maple syrup. Is Bobby waving?
Yeah, I've got to check off, but doing a good job. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Senator Starr.
Bye. I enjoy working with being here in the Northeast Kingdom and having Bobby on the Senate side. We're able to stand up for our farms together. So accessory on-farm businesses can be anything from a farm stand to events or weddings or things that farms want to open their property up for. And they do have to fall many times under regulation for the business part. The farming is exempt from Act 250. But their accessory on-farm businesses has to go through some forms of regulation, regional and municipal planning, or and some places Act 250. So we're working on making that easier and exempting them from that and able to just do their on-farm businesses with all the hoops and permits and such. Another bill we passed out that might affect our area is airport expansion. When our local airport here in Coventry or Franklin County particularly, and others are trying to expand to allow more types of flights happening or expanding businesses or types of airport businesses on the properties, they have to go through mitigating agricultural soils. And 5 years ago, the federal government said that no more farming practices can happen. I don't even know if you knew or be aware that surrounding the airport airstrips and things, farmers could either do crops or hay, and that has been prohibited now in the last 5 years by the FAA. So we're looking at having airport expansion happen without them having to pay for mitigating agricultural soils. And that would actually bring more business to Vermont instead of looking at New York State or New Hampshire. It would open up actually a lot of job opportunities and things that would help economic development in Vermont. So that could be very vital to our local airport. And then I'll end with one more bill that we've discussed, which is having to do with forest products. And as we look around the state, and there've been many investments of time and energy taken over the last year to visit some of our forest products industry folks, we've seen that they struggle in a lot of ways with either some Act 250 complications or travel issues and other things that are keeping our forest products from thriving. And we're taking on a bill 566 on the House side to help look at ways that we can strengthen, modernize, promote, and protect the forest industry sector. And I hope that makes it out of the House. It's right now, some of our bills go into committees for further deliberation or appropriation. And it's in the Appropriation Committee, I believe. But we hope to get that out of the House over to the Senate and have a strategic roadmap to improve our forest industry sector. So I guess I'll stop there. I just want to mention again that what Russ Ingalls has talked about, Senator Ingalls and Representative Higley, about things that are coming out of our legislature are many things that are egregious in some ways to our beliefs. One of them for me was the constitutional amendment for abortion to reproductive rights, they called it. And I was a big no on that and spoke out about it on the House floor. And we have so many things going on in our state, as we've seen, inflation and other issues. And to take up our time on issues that didn't even need to happen, to me, is egregious. And as we move forward, I hope we can see a more balanced legislature in this next election, and one where we have a bigger voice to represent the Northeast Kingdom and Vermonters. So I'll end there. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Strong. I don't believe that I've seen Paul LaFave present. Is my vision working correctly? Okay.
Yes, it is.
Then next, I'd like to call upon Representative Brian Smith.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I have the transportation. I serve on transportation, and I have a 57-page transportation bill that I'd like to read and share with you. Right now it isn't. I'm not going to really read it. It's in draft form right now. Not most of it probably is set in stone, and once it's done, it's going to go over to Senator Ingalls' committee to get approved in 15 minutes, I hope. Anyway, there's a lot of money, you know, Senator Stars touched on it, and as did Senator Ingalls. There's a lot of federal money coming in, and there's going to be a lot of paving done. Millions, hundreds of millions of dollars is going to be spent on our highways and on our bridges. What our transportation committee has been concentrating on vigorously is electric vehicles. And I've got a problem with that. Not a big problem, but a problem. I think it's important that electric vehicles happen in the state of Vermont. But I also think that our committee and the state of Vermont is aggressively hitting on it a lot harder. And they have seemed, in my opinion, it seems that they have forgotten about the low income and medium income families that are driving $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 gas operated cars that aren't going to be able to afford even a used electric car. And I've mentioned it in committee, and it hasn't completely fallen on deaf ears, but pretty darn close to it. One item that is a little disappointing to me, the state of Vermont, as part of these ARPA funds, they're buying 18 electric school buses, and we don't know where they're going yet. But I asked people from transportation in our committee the other day. I asked them, you know, we're up here in the Northeast Kingdom where it's 20 below zero on some mornings, or 0 or even 10. And I think we're all aware that electric vehicles, when you turn the heater on, you're going to drain the batteries a little bit quicker. So I asked the powers to be about kids riding on a school bus when it's 20 below zero, they're going to freeze. And they said, oh, no, they won't, Representative. The heaters work fine. They will be installing diesel fired furnaces on the roofs of these electric school buses. And well, he said diesel, and then he backed up and said propane as well, and gasoline as well. So chances are these electric vehicles that are going to save the environment are going to be heated with diesel. And it's a little bit frustrating to me, but that's just about the way it goes. I have one bill right now that's gone beyond crossover. So what that means is I can't bring the bill to the floor anymore. I've been working on a texting and distracted driving bill for 4 years now. And I think that my committee would go along with it slightly. I think it might be a 6-5 vote in my committee. I'm going to do a few changes to it to allow the fines to be waived if the offender takes a course in distracted driving, first offense. So hopefully that's going to get into the bigger DMV bill. The incentives that we're looking at for electric vehicles are going to be targeted, headed in the direction of low income and middle income families. There'll be incentives for used vehicles. There'll be incentives if someone wants to trade their vehicles. There are a lot of good points of what they're trying to do, but I think it's a little bit too aggressive in the amount of time that they're trying to do it in. That being said, I don't need to touch on it too much because there's so many different numbers and figures that can be talked about today. But if you wanted to know all those numbers, I would be reading 57 pages to you. Let me see what else I got here. I would like to mention something that Senator Ingalls hit on, as did Senator Starr and Mark Higley. This redistricting program. I'm not uncomfortable with Derby being a single member district, but I also think that when we went as a 2-member district, we have the towns, Representative Labor and I have the towns of Morgan, Holland, Charleston, and Brownington and Derby. And those, I can get to any town clerk's office in 15 minutes if they have questions from that they want to ask of Montpelier. Morgan is going to be paired, and Holland's going to be paired with Canaan and Norton, and hopefully our representative from Morgan will be able to retain his seat, or the towns of Morgan and Holland may have a representative that don't even know. And I don't think that's fair. I don't like the way that was set up, and I think redistricting could have been thought out a little bit more. And one thing I wanted to touch on that no one has mentioned today is mascots, school mascots. I've seen a number of very frivolous bills being presented on the floor and being passed. It would be really wonderful if everybody on that floor could concentrate on concerns pertaining to Vermonters rather than just individual Vermonters. Good example, Lake Region Rangers. Now, way back when Rogers Rangers came into the area, I think they might have killed a few Indians, and some Indians might have killed them too. But if a person is going to be offended by the mascot name Rangers, it's going to be a fight, and it's kind of on the edge of ridiculous. But other names like there were the Crusaders, you've got the Mount Mansfield, I think they're Cougars. There's another name that somebody could take offensively. But other than that, we've been working the entire session on the transportation bill. So I've touched on a few things, and I could, that's about it that I want to cover today. And if anyone does have any questions, I'll be more than glad to answer them. 766-4962, you can give me a call, or you can get me on my website, and I'll do the best I can to return the call and answer your question. Thank you, everybody, and I hope Woody is brief.
Thank you, Representative Smith. And I believe the last representative we have present today is Representative Woodman Page, because I don't believe that I've seen Representative Paul Lefebvre, nor have I seen Representative Catherine Sims, nor have I seen Larry Labor. And if either of those 3 representatives are there, please somehow let me know that you're here. But with that, Representative Page.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I don't know as if there's anything more I can say after everyone has already spoken, but I will attempt to try to tell you a little bit about some of the things that we're doing. Before I begin, I'll just say that Representative Larry Labor did have a previous engagement today, so unfortunately he's not here. And I don't know about the others. Redistricting, as was mentioned, I will only be representing Newport City. As previously with Representative Marcotte, we served Newport City, Newport Center, Coventry, Irisburg, and a portion of North Troy. Representative Marcotte will have those areas, but I just want to say whether we're one or two districts, if somebody has an issue in any of these other areas, I think we all respond to queries to us or concerns or questions, whether it's inside our district or outside. So even though we're going to be in different districts, I certainly will respond to constituent concerns, and I'm sure everyone on this call will do the same as well. I'll just touch basically on some things that our healthcare committee is doing. I'm on the healthcare committee, and I'll talk about a few of the bills and some of the other healthcare issues, some of which Representative Marcotte has already raised. Financial assistance policies. There's a bill about no surprises after surgery. You perhaps may have an operation, maybe a hernia, and you think it's going to cost a certain amount. And after you've convalesced and recovered from your surgery, you receive your bill, and it's much more than you had ever anticipated. That's because somebody on the surgical team is outside your insurance plan. There's a bill preventing that. So that will be a good thing. Green Mountain Care Board is looking to make some changes in the way they do their payment and delivery system initiatives. They're looking to make some changes in the way our hospitals do business and how they get paid. And they're also will apparently be inviting the community to engage on some of those changes and to offer recommendations. There's a bill for that's directed towards large group insurance companies, large group markets such as Blue Cross and Blue Shield and MVP, in which hearing aids will be provided. It's going to be a very small segment of that group market. There's also a bill related to pharmacy benefit managers. There's been a lot of concerns about the high cost of pharmacies, and justifiably so. The pharmacy benefit manager is the go-between between the pharmacists as well as the manufacturers. And everybody points their fingers to everybody else about why there's such high costs in our pharmaceuticals. The pharmacy benefit manager, which is the middle person, points their fingers towards the manufacturers for the reasons for the high costs, and the manufacturers point their fingers towards the pharmaceutical benefit managers. So we're trying to bring some openness to what's going on with the costs involved, and that bill hopefully will address that. Some things related to the budget. Medicaid reimbursement rates. We've asked for increases on the base rates, particularly for long-term nursing homes. We've also looked at dental access to services. Many of our dentists have, because they're not paid enough through Medicaid, they've gotten out of the business. So we're looking to increase those reimbursements to dentists so that they can take more Medicaid patients. Emergency rooms do not generally get paid per diem rates. We have a lot of mental health patients sitting in hospital rooms for long periods, and those emergency rooms do not receive those monies for those long-term waits. So we're looking to have increases in per diem rates for emergency rooms. As Representative Marcotte said, we're looking to increase our workforce in the healthcare by increasing pay for those healthcare workers. Suicide prevention, we're looking to put more money towards the prevention of suicide. Governor has, I think, 5 mobile crisis outreach services that he wants to establish. There's also the 988 prevention line, where it's going to be 24/7, manned by Vermonters that know Vermonters. So there's more monies going there. More monies going to our designated agencies, particularly for like the Northeast Kingdom Human Services. More time for postpartum expansion services from just a few days to many more months. There is, many of us have been using telehealth during the pandemic. That will continue long after the pandemic is over. And right now, the Secretary of State's Office for the Operations for the Office of Professional Regulation is looking to set up registration for doctors to provide services from outside of Vermont or Vermonters inside of Vermont. So there will be registration programs for those physicians. Monies for housing. I saw something recently where some hospitals are looking to increase housing for their staff because there is no housing. St. Johnsbury Hospital is one facility in particular that's working on that. That is not something that we have seen in our healthcare committee, but we have seen requests from agencies like Pathways looking to put more monies towards helping those that are living on the streets and are homeless. Here again, grants to support nurse educators. We don't have enough nursing educators out there to train our nurses. So we're looking to try to shore up that support by providing more money to nurse educators. There are grants to hospital employed nurses, as Representative Marcotte said, for preceptors, for nursing students, grants to healthcare employees, hospital long-term facilities to establish partnerships with our Vermont nursing schools to create a nursing pipeline programs to train healthcare employees. There's scholarship programs through the Vermont State Assistance Corporation, nursing loan repayment programs where you live and work in Vermont. And if you stay here, there are loan forgiveness programs. So that's a little bit about what the Healthcare Committee has been doing. Some other concerns I have regarding all this money that we're receiving from the federal government. We're spending a great deal of money, and some of this money is truly justified. It's needed, but I'm afraid when all is said and done, that we're not going to have much to show for the monies that we have received. That's one concern. Also, a number of our agencies, whether they're state agencies or nonprofits, they're coming to us. They know that we have the money, okay? And many of these agencies do require funding, particularly during the pandemic. But my concern is that when all is said and done, maybe next year or the year after, these agencies are still going to be coming back to us looking for more and more money that we won't be having from the federal government. So I don't know where we're going to get that money. You know, maybe we're going to have to raise taxes, but that's just another concern that I have. So I hate to leave on a sorry note like that, but that's where we are and that's how I feel. And I'll just let it go from here. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Unfortunately, our legislators, I think without exception, went beyond 5 minutes each, and we have less than 5 minutes left this morning. So I would ask if any member of the public has any quick comments they would like to make. We don't have time enough to go around and have legislative responses, but if any member of the public would like to say something for a minute or a minute and a half, is there any such person? Okay, I see Janine Young.
It's already been voted. There's probably no reason to bring it up, but the 16 and 17-year-old voting in Brattleboro is just there. It's called youth voting in the bill. There's no reason that they should be voting. It's ridiculous. Is there any provision in there so you wouldn't end up having a whole select board full of 16 and 17-year-olds? I don't think so. It just, they say, oh, it's only local elections. Well, that's what Bernie Sanders started, was in a local election, city of Burlington. So it does affect future elections, and to override that veto, I don't know how many people in our district voted on it, but that's only one of the many things that is egregious down there this year. That's what I'll have to say.
Thank you. Any other comment from a member of the public? Okay, if not, I'd like to thank Dan Pellerin, the Vermont North Country Chamber of Commerce, Todd Perano, and all the participating legislators. Our next gathering will be held on April 4th, followed by gatherings to be held on April 25th and May 16th, all of which will begin at 8 a.m. and terminate at 9 a.m. Our featured legislators at the meeting to be held on April 4th will be Senator Starr and Representatives Marcotte, LaFave, Page, and Sims. We're hopeful that we'll be able to have the in-person component of these breakfasts at the East Side Restaurant, beginning with the April 4th gathering. However, as everyone knows, so much is up in the air that we can certainly make no promises whatsoever. Thank you all for participating.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.